Contentious and at times chaotic Supreme Court confirmation hearings begin for Brett Kavanaugh despite objections from Democrats. And Congressman Duncan Hunter is back in court. New details on when his campaign spending trial might begin.
Today we are announcing that there is more than $50 million available for affordable homes to be built in San Diego.
A new investment in the fight against homelessness, how the city will spend millions of new dollars for housing.
I know it's me, but I miss everything about it. Sometimes it's hard to find this guy.
And a new approach to helping veterans, how the VA is changing a program aimed at mental health. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. The U.S. Senate has begun the confirmation process for President Trump's Supreme Court nominee. District Court Judge Brett Kavanaugh will go through several days of hearings this week. If he's confirmed, it's expected to be by a narrow vote. The session began with Democrats criticizing the process and calling to adjourn the hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be recognized to ask a question before we proceed. The committee received just last night, less than 15 hours ago, 42,000 pages of documents that we have not had an opportunity to review or read or analyze.
And you're rightly proud
Mr. Chairman, if we cannot be recognized, I move to adjourn.
The American people.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
Directly from Judge Kavanaugh later this afternoon.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn. Mr. Chairman, we have been denied real access to the documents we need to advise.
Mr. Chairman, regular order is called for.
Which turns this hearing into a charade and a mockery of our norms.
But I would suggest that if this were a court of law, that virtually every side, every member of on the dais on that side would be held in contempt of court.
Oh, come on.
Because this whole process is supposed to be a civil one where people get to ask questions and we get to get answers.
Give us the time to do our work so that we can have a positive and comprehensive hearing on the man who may well be the deciding vote for many of America's futures.
The hearing was interrupted by protesters who had to be escorted from the room. After each senator on the committee made their opening statements, Brett Kavanaugh had a chance to make one of his own. Here's some of what he had to say.
I tell people, don't read about my judicial opinions, read the opinions. I've served with 17 other judges, each of them a colleague and a friend, on a court now led by our superb Chief Judge, Merrick Garland. Over the past 12 years, I've ruled sometimes for the prosecution and sometimes for criminal defendants, sometimes for workers and sometimes for businesses, sometimes for environmentalists and sometimes for coal miners. In each case, I have followed the law. I do not decide cases based on personal or policy preferences. I am not a pro-plaintiff or pro-defendant judge. I'm not a pro-prosecution or pro-defense judge. I am a pro-law judge.
A former senator who's playing a key role in the Kavanaugh hearings has been chosen to fill John McCain's Senate seat. Arizona's governor has appointed John Kyle. He's a Republican who spent nearly 20 years in the Senate before retiring in 2013. Over the past couple of months, he has worked closely with Brett Kavanaugh and the White House to coordinate the nomination process. NPR has special coverage of the confirmation hearings throughout the week. You can hear more tomorrow morning on KPBS Radio. It appears the trial for San Diego Congressman Duncan Hunter and his wife won't begin until after the November election. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman was there today as the Hunters were back in court.
Congressman Duncan Hunter was met by a small group of protesters as he entered the courthouse Tuesday.
No more corruption! Get rid of corrupt politics!
The congressman did not answer any questions on his way into the building. Before the hearing, he briefly spoke with his wife, Margaret. She's also accused of misusing campaign funds. The pair stood side by side as their attorney said they need more time to go over documents to see what, if any, motions need to be made. A status hearing was set for September 24th. Hunter's attorneys asked if the congressman could skip that appearance, but the judge said he had to be there. Hunter was asked multiple times about recent tweets by President Trump suggesting that his re-election was in doubt.
You still confident that you'll be re-elected?
Those tweets were also a topic of discussion during today's Supreme Court confirmation hearings from both Democrats and Republicans.
I think it's very concerning. He said in a tweet, 2 long-running Obama-era investigations of 2 very popular Republican congressmen were brought to a well-publicized charge just ahead of the midterms.
By the Jeff Sessions Justice Department. 2 easy wins, now in doubt because there is not enough time. Good job, Jeff.
You mentioned that President Trump was going through the same thing with the Department of Justice. Have you had a chance to talk to him about this?
The congressman did not respond to any questions asked by reporters. Hunter has said in the past, though, that he has done nothing wrong and this investigation is politically motivated. There was an expectation a trial could start before the November election. That's still possible, but now appears very unlikely. Today we learned that under the Speedy Trial Act, a trial must begin on or before November 22nd. But former federal prosecutor Chuck LaBella told us motions will likely be made that would delay a trial starting. And as of now, no trial date has been set. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The 2 groups pushing to redevelop the Mission Valley Stadium site are stepping up their political campaigns. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
Soccer City backers spent the morning rallying support for Measure E on the November ballot. American soccer star Landon Donovan among those working at the office near Montgomery Field. Soccer City's Nick Stone says the clock is counting down to just over 60 days until Election Day.
We've got sort of postcards going out to average San Diegans, right? That each and every member of the community will ultimately get some version of a postcard saying, please vote for Measure E, because we don't believe that we should be using taxpayer dollars for sports. And we want to park, and we want to figure out a way to create something that's great for the university, which we will do.
Soccer City hopes to build housing, commercial space, a river park, and a sports stadium to lure a Major League Soccer franchise to San Diego. SDSU West wants to buy land to build an auxiliary campus featuring a stadium, housing, commercial space, and a river park. Spokeswoman Katie Temple says that Measure G, the SDSU West initiative, is in full campaign mode with positive momentum toward Election Day. Backed by widespread and diverse support, our campaign is working tirelessly to reach every voter to vote yes on Measure G. It's the only initiative that creates the opportunity to grow San Diego State University through an open and transparent process that will benefit our regional economy for generations to come. Measure G and E are both on the November ballot. The initiative that wins the most votes, over 50%, prevails. It is possible that both measures could fall short. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
San Diego city leaders say they're offering $50 million in grants for affordable housing. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the funding is not unexpected.
The money comes from local and federal affordable housing dollars and is fairly routine. Mayor Kevin Faulconer announced the funding in a press conference in front of a new housing development for formerly homeless individuals that's currently under construction. The $50 million will be split between permanent housing for the homeless and affordable housing for low-income renters. Rick Gentry is president and CEO of the San Diego Housing Commission.
There's certainly more need than we have funding to take care of now. We think that we could probably double or triple this easily without saturating the marketplace, if you will. But this is what we have to deal with right now and what we're making fully available.
Developers will now have to compete for the limited dollars to help get their projects built. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Campaigns for and against California's rent control ballot measure are squaring off. Proposition 10 would give cities the ability to place more limits on the rents landlords can charge. But opponents say Prop 10 could stunt the future supply of rentals.
I think it's simply going to make it worse by causing people not to want to invest in rental developments.
Supporters say fears about the measure are overblown.
It doesn't change anything overnight. It just allows cities to adopt rent control ordinances that make sense in their communities.
The initiative would repeal a state law that limits rent control to apartments built after 1995. The current law also exempts condos and single-family homes from any rent control. A bill to ban the use of styrofoam food containers at state beaches may soon become law. Lawmakers approved the bill last week and is one of hundreds being reviewed by the governor. The bill would require all takeout food containers at beaches be recyclable or compostable by 2021. It's opposed by the California Restaurant Association and other businesses. A warm-up is expected later this week. Erin Calandra has details in tonight's forecast.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed their nice Labor Day holiday. Today, it's back to reality. A lot of people had to go back to work. The weather, pretty nice. We aren't seeing much of anything happening here on the satellite, so pretty dry conditions. Could use the rain, but we're not going to see it. Here's a bigger picture. There is some monsoon moisture across the deserts to the east of us, creating some showers and storms, but much of Southern California is going to remain dry. Oceanside tonight around 67, Mount Laguna 56, Borrego Springs at 71. Here in the metro, it's going to be pretty pleasant at 71. That is slightly above average for our low temperatures. You'll notice those increasing clouds, but breaking up tomorrow by lunchtime. San Diego reaching 79 tomorrow. Chula Vista around 77, Ramona 85, lots of sunshine for everyone. The deserts around 102 for the high temperature. Now all eyes are on Gordon. While it's going to remain pretty dry in the southwest, we're going to see a lot of rain here across the deep south because of what is going to be Category 1 Hurricane Gordon, making landfall early this evening in parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, the panhandle of Florida. They're going to see up to 12 inches of rain in some spots with pretty high surf right along the coast, the storm surge. So that storm's going to plug away to the north, reaching the Mississippi Valley over the next couple of days with flooding downpours. That's not going to have an impact on us, but if you have loved ones in that direction, well, that's certainly what they're going to be dealing with. Here is our 5-day along the coast. It's going to remain dry, sunny, getting warmer by the weekend. In fact, the interior areas are going to be scorching on Saturday, up to 98 degrees, a good day to head to the pool. Figure out a way to cool down with plenty of sun. In the mountains, getting up to the 80s as well, reaching 86 for the weekend. And it's going to stay sunny for everyone. In the deserts, we are in the 100s already, but by Saturday, the hottest day of the week, we're going to jump up to 111. So make sure you're checking on the elderly neighbors over the next couple of days. Make sure everyone is staying healthy and cool. For KPBS News, I'm Erin Calandra. Ebony, back to you.
Last year, the VA offered treatment to vets who normally wouldn't qualify, but almost no one used the program. Earlier, I spoke with KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh about a change in the law and how it might help veterans struggling with suicide. Steve, so in your report, you focus on programs geared towards veterans with less than honorable discharges. Who might fall into this category?
So these are veterans who have probably been discharged for some type of misconduct. It may have been related to their service. They may have a brain injury or PTSD. They often don't receive any VA benefits, even for health care. Because they have a very high suicide rate, last year the VA began offering these vets mental health care, at least for 90 days. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, I wanted to kind of show you who we're talking about. So we followed a Marine. At his home outside San Diego, former Lance Corporal Josh Onan keeps photos next to his TV from his days as a Marine.
I love it. It looks so. This is the Marine Corps, you know. This is what everybody strives to be. You strive for that eagle, globe, and anchor.
In 2006, he was in Ramadi, Iraq, when his Humvee was hit by a roadside bomb.
I remember laying in the turret, like laying down in the truck, waking up, there's dust, there's debris all over me, and there's an Iraqi colonel who's sitting in the truck with us, with my lieutenant, and he's just screaming. I don't understand what he's saying. So that's when I realized, like, oh, here we go. Something big's happening.
For the next year, he was in and out of trouble. Small infractions, which he chalks up to the amount of medication prescribed for his head injury and PTSD. Then, while on leave, he was caught with a small amount of cocaine. That was it. He was kicked out of the Marines.
I'm 32 years old now, and this guy's 20. And I look up to this guy. I know it's me, but I miss everything about it. Sometimes it's hard to find this guy.
Onan is one of thousands of veterans who have other than honorable discharges. They don't qualify typically for VA benefits, even though vets like Onan have a high suicide rate. Last year, the VA created a program that gives these vets 90 days of mental health care.
I think in mental health in particular, it's really hard to measure outcomes.
Dr. Neil Doran is with the San Diego VA.
They came in saying that they had an urgent need, and they were evaluated and received care for that urgent need, whether it was a substance use disorder or suicidal thoughts.
10/30/11.
Only 25 people took advantage of the program in San Diego.
That sounds great.
A fraction of the veterans with less than honorable discharges. The stakes are about to get higher. A new law will force the VA to seek out these veterans, though finding them will still be tough.
Hey, Doc.
Hi, Josh.
I felt shunned. I still feel shunned.
Yeah.
After years of being rejected, Josh Onan is now getting his PTSD treatment paid for by the VA.
Talking with you, I'll get through it.
He says it's been a lifesaver, but he fears the type of alienation he felt will make it difficult for the VA to convince other vets to seek help.
I would be surprised if most of them aren't alive. And the reason why I say that is without treatment, without proper care, or even loved ones, I don't think I could do it without God and my family. I tell my wife every day, I'm done with this. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm done.
Steve, is there any idea just how many people might fall into this category?
So the VA is saying that at least 500,000 people fall into this category. So it's a very large group.
In your report, you say that only 25 people took part in the program locally in San Diego. Why so few?
Nationwide, only 115 people took advantage of the program, according to the VA. Now, I talked with the Vietnam Veterans of America who lobbied for this program, and they called that a failure.
Steve, what exactly did the military do to let people know in this category who qualified that this program was available?
Ebony, they did almost nothing. That's why these veterans groups that I talked to called the program a failure. But this isn't over yet. Back in March, Congress passed a law which will require the VA to reach out to this group and actually tell them that they're eligible for mental health care if their condition is service-related. We don't know very much about how this program is going to work. They haven't said very much about it. The VA has released a statement. They gave me a statement saying it's writing implementation regulations which will provide further guidance on expanding mental health care outreach to service members in need. And that's what we know.
Steve, thanks for your reporting.
Thanks, Ebony.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, beginning with a brawl. The Kavanaugh confirmation hearing starts amid protests on the committee and off. That's at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
New earthquake technology is part of a major bridge project at the Port of Long Beach. The Gerald Desmond Bridge will open next year. Its foundation and span will include 75 sensors that will transmit data to the U.S. Geological Survey. The data will help scientists better understand seismic force.
The bridge will be instrumented to monitor ground motion so that we can determine the exact accelerations and forces that were imparted on the bridge so that we can quickly put it back in service after a major earthquake. It's designed for both the earthquakes that we would expect to happen within the life of the bridge, but it's also designed to withstand large earthquakes that might occur on a 1,000-year frequency and sustain and not collapse.
Earthquake sensors have been added to other bridges, but this is the first time they've been included at the start of construction. A few weeks after Apple became a $1 trillion company, Amazon did the same this morning. The company's market cap briefly topped $1 trillion this morning before stock trading lowered to about $990 billion. A recent NPR poll shows 92% of America's online shoppers say they've bought something on Amazon. As more of our business is done online, a greater demand is being placed on electricity. Just last week, California set a new zero-carbon electricity goal. And as David Nazar from PBS SoCal reports, sustainability is a major issue in tech.
The technology boom is here. Over the past few decades, tech has provided millions of jobs around the globe and throughout the United States. Nowhere is this more evident than ground zero for the tech industry. Silicon Valley in California's Bay Area and Silicon Beach in the Golden State's tech hub of Los Angeles and Santa Monica. There are more tech companies per capita in these two places than anywhere else in the world. Tech has provided us with a wave of the future, whether it's accessing information at a moment's notice, accessing transportation, or accessing any type of retail. Technology has changed the way we live. And yet, with all of the amazing technology that is constantly being reinvented at a frenzied pace, there are tech sustainability concerns because many climate scientists throughout the U.S. believe there is a price to pay for this innovation. Robert Lempert agrees technology is the wave of the future, and the tech industry has been a vital economic boon to the nation. Lempert says without tech, we couldn't survive. However, he is one of the scientists who believes the current state of the tech revolution is not sustainable.
Tech uses a tremendous amount of power, a tremendous amount of electricity. And to deal with climate change, we need to reduce the emissions that come from energy use. Tech uses about 3% of the world's electricity, more than the aviation industry. The current rate of growth in electricity demand by the tech industry, both in the devices people use, but also these big server farms, run the cloud, aren't consistent with the sustainability climate change targets that California and the world have agreed to.
Lempert says there are about 10 billion devices used worldwide to connect to the internet or apps. All culprits, he says, in the war against greenhouse gas emissions.
It's estimated that tech could be 20% of electric demand by 2025. That's gigantic. By 2040, tech could generate more greenhouse gas emissions than currently is generated by the entire United States. The tsunami of the data that we are using is powered by fossil fuels, which is not sustainable.
To get a bird's eye view of this tsunami of data and all the tech industry has to offer, we decided to visit one of America's largest tech ecosystems. This is Tech Fair LA 2018. Many believe this is the future. About 15,000 job seekers have converged on downtown Los Angeles for one of the largest tech job fairs in the United States. 250 of the world's leading technology companies are here. It's an attempt to provide techies the opportunity to meet and mingle directly with companies like SpaceX, YouTube, Google, ZipRecruiter, Ticketmaster, and Indeed. Chris Hyams is president of Indeed.com, the largest job website in the world. Indeed has about 250 million job seekers around the globe every single month.
Technology has clearly changed everything. Not only is every major industry being disrupted by technology, the number one advertising company in the world, the number one music retailer in the world, the number one retailer in the world, they're all technology companies. But in fact, every company now is becoming a software company.
Hyams explains that's why companies like Delta, Disney, and Warner Brothers are taking part in Tech Fair LA. Now everyone wants to be a part of the tech revolution.
We're the most socially connected generation of all generations, so I feel like tech is taking over the world, and whether we like it or not. So if you can be a part of that and be able to work in it Monday through Friday, that would be awesome, because we stay on our phones every day anyway.
I just wanted to be around all these innovators. I just felt like it'll be a lot of synergy, and I wanted to network. It's the wave of the future, so we just have to be a part of it and embrace it somehow.
Robert Lempert says he wants to be a part of this future, and everyone must adapt to this new world. And while Lempert has his sustainability concerns, he believes it could be a win-win for the tech industry and for preserving our environment for future generations.
There is some good news. First off, the tech industry uses electricity, which in principle can be the cleanest fuel. There's a huge effort underway in the US, California, and globally to decarbonize, they call it, the electric industry, to sustainable sources like wind, solar, and other potential sources. That will greatly increase the sustainability of tech.
That's part of a report from the program Sustaining California. You can see the full show at pbssocal.org. Now, here's a look at what we are working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, Revolt. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando will tell us about the new play at Diversionary Theater in University Heights. And on Midday Edition, we will have special coverage by NPR on Day 2 of the Supreme Court confirmation hearings for Brett Kavanaugh. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.